We have plenty to discuss here in today's video. We have some trade talk to take a look at around the NHL involving the Chicago Blackhawks and Lucas Reichel. Could the Flames move Nazem Kadri, and what teams would be most likely interested if that were to happen? Plus, Sidney Crosby. Is there any chance he's going to change his mind, leave the Penguins this year? Comments from Darren Dreger suggest that Montreal would be all over that should that become a reality. We have quite a game going on tonight between the Lightning and the Panthers, closing in on 300 penalty minutes. Several ejections, absolutely crazy game I want to take a look at, which is kind of discussion around how the preseason is thankfully changing next year. Lots of news from the NHL waiver wire today, big signing in Minnesota, and some injury updates coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. We'll kick things off with the fact that the preseason is coming to an end today, and which is thank goodness. There's been way too much of it, and I think it's time to get regular season hockey on the go. But one of the craziest games we've seen is this Battle of Florida. Now, I know teams play each other in the preseason. Quite mostly, like majority of it is based on geographic location. You don't want to have to travel too far. You do like a couple home and homes. That's why you see in the East between Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa play each other. You've got Pittsburgh, Philly, and Battle of Florida. The California teams play each other. Makes sense from that perspective, but some of these teams legit hate each other. And the craziness and the injuries, the things you've been seeing, it's just unnecessary. I get the hatred, and I guess when some stupid behavior is responded to by other crazy behavior, it just gets out of hand. But the Lightning-Panthers game tonight, it's got to be something that the NHL is not real thrilled with. Overall, as I record this, there were still a few minutes left in the third period, so this could change. But it's an 8-0 Panther game right now. 7 of the 8 goals on the power play. I believe, if I count it right, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe there's 13 players ejected from this game. Several dirty plays on both sides. A lot of on Tampa seemed to be probably more so. I mean, I was watching the Blue Jay game, and then I was watching a lot of the Habs Senators game, so I didn't really get to see this game live, actually. I just kept checking it in the highlights. So, crazy game. When I had last looked, there was 265 minutes in penalties, and then, like I said, that was with about 7 or 8 minutes left in the third. I checked the score again. It was 8-0 Florida. With 3 or 4 minutes left, I think it was. And like I said, 7 of the 8 goals in the power play. Vasilevsky, who I think they wanted to play the whole game, didn't. He left after the 6th goal. 13 ejections. Lots of players are going to be dinged up, hurt, whatever. Absolutely nuts. We saw a similar game. We thought we saw a similar game with Ottawa, Montreal a few days ago in Quebec City. And to be honest, that wasn't anywhere near this level. Even the previous Tampa and Florida game that was kind of had a lot of this wasn't near it at all. I mean, the whole point of the preseason is for players to kind of get their reps in, get their timing back, develop some chemistry with their line mates. You kind of want to get through it ideally without getting hurt. And I know there's players that are trying to make a name for themselves to get roster spots and all that, but I don't know. Thankfully, next year things are changing. There's going to be less preseason action, and you wonder why teams are reluctant to play like a full lineup. Like, you're scared of getting hurt when you see this kind of craziness going on when it doesn't even count. So we'll see how things progress here and what comes from it. I imagine we're probably going to see more fines at the very least from player safety. I'm not sure if we'll get a suspensions or not. Wouldn't be shocking either. Some of the plays definitely look like they could be suspension worthy, but just absolutely bonkers game. And if anybody thought that rivalry was toned down, you had another thing coming. It's going to be absolutely bonkers even when it goes into regular season play. Another big day in the waiver wire. No claims from the players that were on waivers yesterday. Yesterday we ended up having 3 claims, so definitely a tamer day in that sense, but 15 more players. I think tomorrow's waiver wire is going to be massive. I would suspect that it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 60, 70 players. There's still a lot of cuts to be made here. I know Puckpedia had estimated that it could be as many as close to 100 players hit waivers over the full course of the weekend, and we only had 15 today. So tomorrow's list could be bonkers. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it tomorrow once the news comes out in the afternoon. But today we had the Dallas Stars with Vladislav Koliachinuk, he's on waivers. The Panthers have Toby Bjornfoot and Brendan Bussey on waivers. The Devils got Thomas Bordeleau, Angus Crookshank, Brian Hallinan, Zach McEwen, who they just traded for yesterday in that swap with the Senators, and Colton White. So, obviously, the Devils were looking to clear some space and didn't really intend for McEwen to be on the NHL roster. So, we'll see how that goes. The Flyers have defenseman Dennis Gilbert on waivers. The Penguins have Ryan Graves. He's definitely the biggest name player in this list with the most term, most experience, most games played, all that. But we know that really his whole tenure with the Penguins has been horrific. They immediately had buyer's remorse. Graves, I'm not sure what happened to him. He's never been a star player, but he's always been a very early in his career. I remember watching him more so with the Avalanche, and even a little bit in New Jersey. Like, he was better than what he is now. So I don't know he just hasn't been good for a while. So he's probably not getting picked up because he still has like 4 years on his contract. They also have Alex Alexiev, Raphael Harvey-Pinard. Pinard, obviously, after a half-season run with Montreal where he was just on fire and everything was going in for him. It's been a bit of a downturn since, battled some injuries. They've also got Boko Imama and Sam Poulin, former high pick of theirs. Poulin, to me, might be a player, like we've talked about some of these other still youngerish players, but, they've been first-round picks. They've been, 3, 4, 5 training camps, haven't made the team yet. At some point, you got to be like, okay, maybe it's time to move on. So we'll see what happens with the future for him. And the San Jose Sharks today have Colin White. Like I said, there's a lot of players in this list, ties to the Senators between White, Boko Imama, Dennis Gilbert was there briefly last year, Zach McEwen, and then, of course, former Senators goaltender Philip Gustafson with a big contract extension with the Minnesota Wild today. That was one of the bigger pieces of news we saw. Billy Guerin's been getting stuff done here as of late. Signing Gustafson today to a 5-year extension, so that'll kick in next year. 5 years at $6.8 million. Full no-move clause in the first 2 years, which includes this year as well. Sometimes when you add a clause like that in a new contract, you can backdate it to the final year. So he's got full no-move for the first few years, and then a 15-team modified no-trade for the final 3. So he's 27 years old right now. This will kick in when he's 28. We'll take him to age 33. I know his first year in Minnesota was good. His second year was a little shaky, and then he's been better since. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, more often he's had more good there than anything else, right? Ottawa might have given up on him a little bit too young. But he was in their system for a while. He actually was originally a Penguin draft pick, came over from Pittsburgh to Ottawa in the Derek Brassard trade way back when Ottawa started rebuilding, and then ended up going through their system for quite a while, but was inconsistent. They needed a more veteran guy to stabilize things. They traded him for Cam Talbot, who only spent there 1 year. That was a Pierre-Dorian trade, never really worked out, but he's done well with the Wild. That contract has, I think, good opportunity to age relatively well, so we'll see what happens if he can keep up playing the way he's been. And, like I said, the prime years for goalies seem to be late 20s into early 30s. So could be the best part of his career during this contract. So hopefully that's the case. The Kraken today signed one of their prospects as well. The Seattle Kraken signed 2024 second-round pick. Julius Mietinen gets his 3-year entry-level deal. Also, another injury update. Ethan Bear, who joined the Islanders this year as a free agent, has been injured. He will miss the first few weeks of the season, so he's going to start the year on season-opening injured reserve. He's on a 2-way deal with 0 days technically spent in the NHL. So even though he's on season-opening injured reserve, there will be no cap hit for the Islanders while he recovers, and then he can be sent down or put through waivers to do so later on. So that's the update there. And some trade stuff, as I mentioned. Lucas Reichel's a name that's been getting some attention. A lot of believes that the Blackhawks were going to try to get him moved before the beginning of the season. Obviously, they still have a few days to do so. Time is running out. Dave Pagnotta of thefourthperiod.com today was reporting that there is a handful of teams that have interest in this player, including a couple of Western Canadian teams, the Canucks and the Oilers, the Sharks and the Red Wings also in that mix. Edmonton is pretty tight with cap space, so I'm not sure they'd have to move something out as well. they'd have a trickier time to do it than a team like San Jose, for example. We know San Jose's basically been trying to, between drafting and trading a lot of younger talent, so makes sense there. I'm not sure the Canucks make the most sense because they definitely would want more of a center than a winger. But we'll see. Detroit had some roster spots that could be upgraded by, or given an opportunity to a guy like Reichel too. So we'll see. I mean, obviously the Blackhawks don't have to move him. You're always afraid you're going to give up on a young player too soon. But there's been some belief for a while that the Blackhawks feel like maybe a fresh start and for both sides is what's best. Some updates on some veteran guys here. Nazem Kadri, according to Darren Dreger, no surprise here really at all. But there's a lot of interest in him around the league. Now, the Flames are far from a guarantee to move Kadri. Basically, what Dreger was saying on his radio hit here was that a lot of teams are interested, but it's going to take a lot for the really pique Calgary's interest to pull the trigger on a deal. For them to be seriously considering it, and I believe Kadri does have some trade protection in his contract as well, so he may have to approve a trade anyway. But it'd have to be like a bit of an overpay to really get a serious effort from Calgary, and that's probably not going to come early in the year. To me, that's going to probably be a mid-season deal to a deadline range when teams might, if they feel like they're desperate enough that there could be a lost season, if they're, really just not, if they, like if you get a team that's just not quite living up to expectations, but thinks that if they get the right move that they'll be a serious contender, then they'll make that move, right? So obviously, Dreger lists some 3 Canadian teams that could be in the mix, including Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, all definitely looking for help down the middle if they can do it. We've heard Vancouver is definitely a team that I think would be looking to make a move for that type of player. Toronto, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Kadri back to the Leafs for some time. I don't know, that both of those teams, Vancouver and Toronto, what would they offer Calgary to make them really raise their eyebrow and go, maybe we really need to seriously consider this. And the other thing with Kadri, and the other team here, the third one actually before we get to that, is Montreal. Now, Montreal probably needs a guy like Kadri the most, I would think, but before they make a move on Kadri, they're going to want to see what they have in Kirby Dach. See, can he play a full season? Can he stay healthy? And is he going to be good enough to solidify that second line that they don't need to make this move, right? So there is that. Now, if they are having a good year and they want to really add some depth to go to the playoffs and have a chance to not only make the playoffs but do some damage, then that's different. Montreal does have the assets and younger players and picks that could intrigue the Flames to make that kind of move. But Toronto and Vancouver, they make sense for them to be interested. They might be appealing destinations for Kadri if he were to go there. But I don't know that they have the assets to really, with Dreger saying it would have to be a severe overpay, I don't know how they even make a legit offer, let alone an overpay. They don't have, I don't think at least, the necessary assets. So a team like Montreal is still coming out of their rebuild. They've drafted very well. They've acquired a lot of young talent. They can give up some of these younger players they're not all going to be Habs, right? That's just the fact of the matter. So we will see. Of course, if Calgary is in the mix, they're not going to want to make that move either. Now, I don't know. To me, like I said, my concern with the Flames, and it's been this way, not just during the Conroy run here as GM, but a long time. The Flames have been in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, miss a couple of years, make a couple of years, and they're always in that, what I call that mushy middle. They're never bottom of the league horrible. They're never top of the league great. And then they don't end up with any high picks. They've gotten some good players during the last couple of years of drafting, but, they're a team that would benefit more than most for getting a top 5 pick, especially in a deep draft coming up. So to me, this year in Calgary, if they're not having a great start, they just need to commit to a direction, and I think they're kind of trying to balance things out with move some veterans, add some young talent, but not really fully rebuild. And it's been, and I understand why, because you're scared to lose your ticket base. You're scared that fans aren't going to come to the games. Ownership's not going to want to fully commit to that. There's lots of reasons why, but it makes it really, really difficult at the same time to get those impact players, right? So we'll see what the Flames do. And Jagger also had some comments on Sidney Crosby, basically saying if Crosby, because we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you haven't watched it as well. Another thing I'll mention here, just to give it a promo, not that it's sponsored or I benefit in zero ways, but the Amazon series NHL Face Off behind all the behind the scenes stuff here, the new series of season 2 that's out. With 6 episodes. I haven't watched it all yet, but I've watched like 3 or 4 episodes, and so far I think it's interesting. But there is an episode focused on Crosby. They also focus on Anze Kopitar and a little bit of Quentin Byfield in that episode. But with Crosby, like, you really hear about how he's so focused on winning, he's so driven, he's so competitive, doesn't know anything else. I do wonder, after all this losing and now after having a chance to play 4 nations, he'll go to the Olympics this year, if he will change his mind and decide to play for another team for the remainder of his career or what have you before hanging him up. So, is he going to leave Pittsburgh? We don't know. But according to Dreger, if Crosby makes that decision, because it's going to be entirely his choice, we know that, right? And he's going to, not only is he going to make the choice himself that he's willing to leave, but he'll dictate where he goes. Like, it's just that simple, right? He's going to completely call the shots. The Penguins are not going to get this massive return. They will get something half decent, but, it's going to have to make sense for them, right? But it will be at Crosby's wish. And Dreger says that if he were to make that choice, that he says Montreal would do everything, whatever possible, that they could try to make that happen. And yeah, I get it. I mean, there's been every connection with Crosby and the Habs, like he grew up a Habs fan, all that stuff. Like, does he want to play there? I don't know. But considering they're a young team and they're an up-and-coming team, he would be the ultimate mentor to help them take another step. So, yeah, it would be the ultimate get if they could do it. They have lots of interesting assets, again, just like I mentioned with Calgary, if they were to make a move for Kadri. But really, if you have a chance to get Crosby, you're not going to go after anybody else. Like, he's the ultimate player that you'd want on your team. The young guys on that team can learn so much. It'd be crazy. But again, is he going to make that choice? That's going to be one of the big storylines to watch during the season. So let me know your thoughts on all today's news and rumors in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.